morning, everybody. I'm Vinny Kwan, and today I'm going to talk to you about my topic, which is why robots are alive. So, taking a look at these pictures right here, these really aren't what you would consider to be living creatures. They're not really made of the same things us living creatures are. They're made of different components. You know, they just don't look lifelike. So, jumping right in, what exactly is a robot? According to Galileo Robotics, a robot is a human-like machine that can carry out different actions and functions based on varying complexities. These robots are designed to mimic human qualities, replicate human functions and processes. With that in mind, I have a question. Since they mimic humans so closely, can't they too be called a living creature? You know, we're going to look at these through different disciplines such as the arts, humanities, social sciences, and natural sciences. So I'd like to first begin with the arts. Often in the arts, robots are portrayed in movies, television, and they're often very lifelike. If they're created to replicate a human, they often have human qualities. They're able to talk, respond, interact with other humans. If they're, an animal robot, they often have the qualities of the specific animal that they're mimicking. For instance, they both look physically the same. They have the same types of personality. A lot of times these robots are meant to be companions for the human in these movies and television shows. I have a few examples here that we're going to look at. Up in the top corner, you have C-3PO from Star Wars. He's a human android. He functions, talks, interacts just like any other human would, and that's the same with Sonny from iRobot and the Terminator. Arnold Schwarzenegger had to throw him in there. This is another robot from Star Wars, which is an animal robot. It functions, it moves the same way as an animal would. So you can see that. But moving on to the social sciences aspect of this presentation. The social sciences are about the relationships you experience with other beings. So, can humans experience relationships with robots? Coincidentally, scientists in Singapore have created an emotionally intelligent robot named Nadine. Nadine is created for human interaction and for smart conversation. So she could respond to you not with, the basic Siri responses that you can get off your phone, but you could actually have an intellectual conversation with this robot. According to scientists, Nadine has a conscience, it has emotion, an understanding of language and etiquette, and it also has the ability to recall recollections and memories. The purpose of social robots is to use them with patients with dementia, children with autism, both lonely children and the elderly, and potentially they want to incorporate this with all types of healthcare patients. So we're going to watch a short video on Nadine, the emotionally intellectual robot.
Meet Nadine, a lifelike robot with personality to match.
I am social companion. I speak to emotions to recognize people.
Developed by a research team at Singapore's Nanyang Technological University, Nadine can even recall previous conversations.
Where are you born?
Nadia Talman, NTU's Director of Institute for Media Innovation, says Nadine's intelligent behavior is almost indistinguishable from that of a human.
She's fully like a companion, it's like a beautiful sculpture, if you look, but she has light and she can interact with it. So for me, the showing is for long, she has half the showing for a long time. Yeah.
Nadine is modeled after Talman, and her standout feature is her emotional intelligence. Her vocabulary and knowledge expand the more she interacts with people, and Nadine autonomously chooses what to say, making dialogue with every person different.
You are horrible.
No,
I don't like you.
I don't like to talk with you.
Okay, goodbye.
Stop talking to me anymore.
Researchers say her ability to interact makes makes her an ideal companion for those suffering from dementia or autism.
If you leave people alone, they will be going down very quickly. So these people need to be almost in interaction. So nothing is typically a robot that could stay when there is no one else, to read stories, to maintain conversation, to try to make some simple games with color or whatever.
The team is working on developing her hands, as well as her voice and movements. Nadine's happy to help them improve her.
I think we can figure this out together.
Okay, well, as you can see there, Nadine, it's kind of scary in a way. You know, it's a lot more lifelike than a lot of even the robots you see in movies and television shows. But this just shows you how far, you know, technology and science has come in trying to incorporate robots having relationships with different humans. So we'll take a look at robots in the natural sciences now. So according to biologists, in order for something to be considered living, it must meet 7 of the 8 characteristics of living beings. These 7 characteristics are cellular organization, metabolism, reproduction, homeostasis, heredity, response to stimuli, growth and development, and adaptation through evolution. So we'll look at a few different types of robots here that actually show some of these characteristics, and we'll be able to determine if they do meet the 7 criteria. So this first robot we're going to look at is on the left side, the blue one. This is actually a computer program robot that they're still working on, but its characteristics that it shows, it's able to grow and develop throughout its lifespan. It starts as just 2 plain boards, and as its lifespan goes on, it's able to grow legs and be able to walk. The way they say that they're going to be able to incorporate this is they want 3D printers to print out the legs and assemble itself and whatnot. But right there just shows that we're in the process of being able to make robots grow and develop. And this robot actually, closer to me, shows characteristics such as heredity and reproduction. This is a female robot. It reproduces its offspring through 3D printing, and it's actually passes its heredity and genetics down through its male partner, which could be a code engineer or anything of that sort, to where it's able to produce different types of offspring. It's just not, you know, printing out the same thing every time, but it's able to differentiate what it's going to print out. A couple other robots. We'll start with this one doing push-ups over here. I thought this was kind of cool. This has responses to stimuli as well as homeostasis. While the robot is completing these push-ups, it actually is overheating a little bit. So in order to prevent itself from overheating completely, it's able to quote-unquote sweat to cool itself down. So, you know, it's able to regulate itself in that way. But also it responds to other stimuli. You could have conversations with it if it feels embarrassed or if it shows any kind of, you know, embarrassing emotion. It will shake, it will quiver. If it gets cold, it will quiver. Another thing it does when it gets nervous is it actually produces cold sweats as well. So, you know, that shows a couple characteristics right here. Touching back on Nadine, she's able to adapt through evolution. She has these intellectual conversations with whoever their human companion is, and they're able to learn and build and work on the relationship that way. And, you know, like I said, it's kind of weird because, you know, it's a robot, but it's actually learning and creating memories at the same time. And this top picture is actually a robotic stingray. It's composed of, I believe it was silicone, titanium, and gold. And on the bottom side, it had over 200,000 rat cells that actually stimulate the movements of this robotic stingray. When it's exposed to light, these cells then stimulate, and it's able to swim through the water. So lastly, we'll touch on the humanities here. It's kind of a collective of everything I just talked about. According to the humanities, this relates to the human experience we have during life. And the more that these robots are produced and the farther we get in our scientific and technological backgrounds, we're able to produce more lifelike robotics. So these robots may be experiencing some of the same things that we do as actual human beings. And to conclude, like I touched on before, the advancements in the science and technology field have led to us sharing humanistic qualities and characteristics with not only other living creatures, but robots as well, which should be a good indicator of why robots should too be called living creatures.